I have not always been an early riser, but now it is something that is more or less non-negotiable for me. My entire day, the tone for my entire day is set by what time I wake up and how I spend the first few hours before the sun comes up and before everybody else in my home wakes up as well. So, if you are new here, welcome to Hopewell Heights. I have this YouTube channel where I share a lot of homemaking and homesteading and motherhood content. Occasionally, I'll pepper in some talk of conspiracy theories or something interesting like that. Well, if you want more conspiracy theories, you can go check out my Instagram. But I also have a food blog, hopewellheightsblog.com, where I share all of the recipes that you see me prepare here in these videos. So you can always find my recipes by just going to Hopewell Heights blog or by clicking in the description of the video. So I am 36. My husband and I have been together for 15 years, and we have 5 children currently. Our oldest will be 14 very soon, and our youngest is 18 months old with ages in between. And when I was younger, when I was a new mother, I never woke up early. I would sleep in until my kids woke me up. And, my babies back then, they were pretty good sleepers. Things were a little bit complicated because back in my early days of motherhood, I did everything according to doctor's recommendations. I used to be a nurse by trade, so I had gone to nursing school. I completely trusted the medical system. I did all of the checkups, all of the injections, medications, anything the doctor said, I did it. And my kids were so sick. They had chronic ear infections, just always not feeling well. So sleep was a little bit difficult because of that. But even then, I've always breastfed and co-slept with my kids, so I was always able to get some pretty good sleep. But still, I just would have never thought to wake up really early in the morning. I always wanted to sleep in as long as I could. Now, I was working as a nurse, so sometimes that was unavoidable. I'd have to get up super early, get my babies dressed and out the door, and that rush always was very difficult, stressful, and it broke my heart having to rush my little babies out the door and sometimes be like, come on, come on, come on, really getting on to them just because they weren't ready to leave the house at like 5:30 in the morning. So, very glad that those days are behind me. But we had our first 3, they came very closely together. And I've always been open to life. I've never planned I never planned on using any kind of contraception or, deliberately spacing my children, but I do remember having the thoughts like, how am I going to continue having children? Because I know that older kids might not sleep in and they definitely don't take a nap. And when I was a young mom, I really wanted to sleep in and I took a nap with my kids every single day. I've always been pretty big on rhythms and routines, not like military style schedules for my babies, but we've always had really good rhythms where we had a good nap time after lunch and I was right there with them napping every single day. And I truly didn't know how I would survive without my daily nap. But here I am, surviving, and we'll talk more about that in just a minute. Body odor is not just a problem of the underarms. It can affect different parts of the body, which you're well aware of if you have teenage boys, as I do, and you've ever been anywhere near their shoes. And rather than trying to mask the body odor once it's already started, you can actually prevent it by getting to the root cause and addressing the pH of the skin, preventing those odor-causing bacteria from even forming in the first place. Lume is a gentle, aluminum-free, baking soda-free, talc and paraben-free whole body deodorant that has been clinically proven to prevent
body odor before it starts and provide odor control for up to 72 hours. Lume is safe for sensitive skin and can be applied to any external surface of the body where you need odor control. Plus, there are several different ways to apply Lume, whether you prefer a traditional deodorant stick or a whole body spray. This is really great for feet, by the way. So if you have kids who play sports and their shoes smell not the greatest, then 72 hours of coverage right here. Just spray their feet with this. There's also a cream body wash and deodorant wipes. These are really great for on the go, whether you want to keep them in your car or in your bag. You don't have to worry about them melting like if you try to keep traditional deodorant on you, especially hot times of the year. Lume not only gets to the root cause of body odor, but it also exfoliates, reduces hyperpigmentation, and reduces redness in the skin as well. And when you get started with Lume, whether you want to just try an individual item or a starter pack, new customers can get $5 off with my code HEIGHTS. I'll put my link, my code, and more details for Lume in the description below the video.
So as I said, I knew logically that if we continued to have children, that the nap time would go away at some point. And it's not like you can just, leave 5, 6, 7-year-olds unsupervised and take a nap. And I knew that at about that age, the nap time might go away for my kids. And I'm thinking, what am I going to do? Because I am heavily reliant on this nap time. I don't like getting up early. I just don't know if I can do it. I guess I just have to have faith and trust that it will all work out. And I'm here to tell you, if you are a new mom in that season, it does all work out. You do grow in your endurance. That's really the only way I know to describe it. As somebody who I have, spent my younger years playing competitive sports, and even as an adult, I still like to exercise, and I'm, pretty into fitness and strength training, and endurance is a big part of it. You've got to build up, whether you are doing cardio or strength training. You don't just walk up to the squat rack and squat 200 pounds or something crazy like that. You have to start by just going through the motions. And then little by little, you add weight. And it really is like that with so many parts of motherhood. It's like adding a little weight at a time, unless maybe you're out there watching this and you've had quadruplets or something. That's adding a lot of weight at a time. But for most of us, we only have one baby at a time, sometimes two. So it's just adding a little bit more at a time. And as you add that little bit more at a time, a little, whether it's a new child or heading into a new season of motherhood where maybe you're going from having little ones to toddler, or babies to toddlers, or from toddlers to school-age children, you do grow in endurance. And I can say now, 15 years into this thing, with a child who's almost 14, I wouldn't turn down a nap. I am a huge fan of siesta culture, wouldn't turn it down, but I feel totally fine without it. In fact, I kind of look forward to afternoon quiet time when my little ones nap and when the big kids are doing other things, just to be in the kitchen at a quiet time or doing something around the house that I want to do without all the noise and chaos. It's just a nice time to regroup. And I don't know if I would want to sleep during that time. Sometimes I read during that time. But yeah, I've just grown in endurance, and I have enough friends in this season, and even who have, are but beyond me in years, who have said the same thing. So don't worry. You'll be fine. You will survive without that daily nap. And you very well may, if you're a young mom, a new mom, and you're not a morning person, and you're like, how could I ever, I see these other moms waking up really early and being so productive before the sun is even up, but that can't be me. It can't, I'm telling you, it can be you, but it doesn't have to be you right now. And it probably shouldn't be you right now if you just have babies, or if you're in a season of postpartum, or maybe the first trimester or the third trimester, or all of those lovely seasons of childbearing that, because of hormonal reasons, make us more tired, then maybe that shouldn't be you. waking up before the sun and getting a bunch of things done. I can tell you that's not me in those seasons. I sleep when the baby sleeps as much as possible postpartum. Um, when I'm in the first trimester of pregnancy, I don't get up early like I usually do. And, that's just part of life. We have to adjust. But I can tell you, when I do wake up bright and early, and for me, I don't even have to set an alarm clock. My body just kind of wakes me up around 5:30. And when I use those first few hours of the day wisely, and I'm very productive, the entire tone of the day shifts, and it is a better day for everyone in my household. It's amazing to me how much the mother can set the tone of the home. I do believe in nature and biology. I believe biology exists. Shocker, I know. So, I do believe in the patriarchy because that's just rooted in biology. And, that is a part of my religion as a Catholic, but that's because my religion is rooted in truth and biology. So I do believe that men have a lot of responsibility and, they should rule over the family and the home. But I'm telling you, ladies, that does not mean we are just sitting over here powerless. We truly do have the power to influence everyone in our home, the entire tone of our home, with our daily habits and rhythms and practices. And so, when I am able to, I wake up very early and I just get going. Sometimes I'll get ready for the day right away, but if it's a day where I'm going to exercise, then I don't. I just stay in my pajamas, which a lot of times I just wear dresses to bed. So I'll just throw on a sweater and, be in my dress slash pajamas and get going. Whether that's starting a few loads of getting a few loads of laundry going, starting my bread for the day if I'm baking that particular day, definitely thinking about meals for the day if I hadn't already thought of them the night before, which I usually try to think about meals at least the night before. But I probably got, I've got some prep work to do every morning for all 3 meals, and meals are non-negotiable. No matter how the day goes, people need to eat. So I try to make that the priority. Those basic human needs of like shelter, clothing, and eating. Those are my priorities in the morning, is making sure that our clothing is being washed and taken care of, clothing situation, and that we have food to eat for the day. And then I start thinking about the home, what needs to be done around our shelter, our home. And I start thinking about delegating tasks throughout the day because I do have older kids who have chores. I actually have one child who is in charge of the laundry, but like I said, I still get it going early because I'm just the first one awake. So I make my coffee, make my husband's tea, just do my little morning rituals. And I love to do these things by candlelight. That just brings me so much satisfaction, and it's also healthier. I don't know if you guys know this, but artificial lighting, especially overhead lighting, actually raises cortisol, and it can have a negative effect on your blood sugar. So one way to, just mind your health is avoid artificial lighting if you can before the sun comes out, like early in the first thing in the morning and late at night. If you need light, then try candles. And if you can get outside and get some natural light on your eyeballs, like before you put contacts in, if you wear contacts, just your actual eyes, watch the sunrise, get that natural light, on your eyes, then that, and the same goes for the sunset, and that actually helps with your metabolism and overall health. So that's something that I really try to do. So the Angelus, that is 6 a.m., noon, and 6 p.m. So I'm usually up praying the Angelus by myself in the mornings, but that's just another great rhythm to your day. a great way to make sure that, if you don't already start your day with prayer, that you're starting your day with prayer. And um, all of Christendom used to pray the Angelus at 6, noon, and 6. Bells would ring out, and everyone would stop what they were doing um, and pray. So maybe we'll get back to that someday. So here I'm preparing a massive sub sandwich because I was, this particular morning, I was preparing for one of our co-ops. And so that prep actually starts the night before. When I know that we have somewhere to be the next day, I have to prep the night before. You know what I mean if you're a mom. If you don't, you pay for it, and then you are rushing, running out the door, forgetting things, and that's just not a very fun tone to set. I don't like being stressed. I don't like my kids being stressed. So, packing lunches for a lot of kids can be tricky. That is why one reason I love the massive sub sandwich. This is like a staple for me. And people who know me in my real life and hang out with me and my kids, or if you're in co op with my kids and I, then you know about the sub sandwich because you see it like every week when I bring it. So, that's just a fun little trick. And, if you do try to abstain from meat on Fridays, then this works great for. You can do like egg salad, you can do tuna salad. This is my quick French loaf recipe. So this recipe is on the blog. It's very quick, easy to make. A lot of times I'll make 2 of these and then it's just very convenient for a nice quick lunch. But you can also make these French loaves into really, really delicious like garlic cheesy bread, which goes great with any kind of pasta. But anyway, that is one of my little tricks for being out prepping to be out and about with my kids. And the kids love it. All right, let's talk about coffee. We've talked about it before, but it's probably part of most of our morning routines. And I have an on and off relationship with coffee. Coffee is like stepping on the gas pedal, which is great if you are not just spinning your wheels. So if you are a very active person, if you work out and I'm not talking about you're just like up going after kids all day. I'm talking about you're legitimately, deliberately active by walking long distances or exercising strength training, spending a lot of time outside moving, then coffee is probably your friend. But if you are more sedentary, and one way to know that is just track your steps. You're probably not getting as many steps as you think you are. Ask me how I know. We all like to think, oh, I chase after my kids all day, I'm getting exercise. Well, no, it's not true. That's why so many mothers struggle with being overweight, because we're actually not getting the movement we think we're getting. And in that case, if we are not getting enough movement, then coffee is just like stepping on the gas, but we're spinning our wheels, and it's going to cause anxiety. So if you drink coffee and you find yourself sweating and running around like a chicken with your head cut off, or you're anxious, or you have like really bad body odor afterward, might be a good idea to not, or to just cut back, maybe do some half calf. I know that there are times when I definitely cannot drink coffee, and I know that by actually charting my cycle. I can see that it has an effect on my hormones because it shortens my luteal phase and actually contributes to me not being able to get pregnant. So when I want to get pregnant, then I cut back on the coffee. I go to half calf or decaf, like a Swiss water decaf, or even an herbal coffee replacement. There are so many options out there, and I have a lot that I like. Another time is pregnancy. I try to really cut back. Postpartum. So basically all the time, you guys. That's what I'm saying is all the time. No, there are times when I do regularly drink coffee. But for me, I just have to be very mindful about it. So on another note, things are going really well with the rotational grazing. We've been rotating a few of our cattle on a 1 acre pasture that we have divided into several paddocks. We've been moving them every 1 to 2 days, and included in this little herd is my dairy cow Fancy. So we've been doing this on a small scale really figure out how to do this with a dairy cow that's being milked every day, not every single day, but being milked most days, and we've got a really good system down. So that's probably something I'll talk more about in the future. Here I am putting some sourdough discard cinnamon rolls in the oven, and these I actually had prepped a few days before. Another trick that I have is when you're doing your early morning prep, or whenever, I guess if you are a night owl, you do late night prep. Make double, make triple of whatever you're making, and put the extra in the fridge or freeze it for an easy meal. I mean, you already have everything out. You're already making the mess to prepare it. Why not just make more of it? It's actually not that much more work, and it is so nice to have those quick meals. Like, they're quick meals, but they're still from scratch, and you've got them on hand for when something comes up. I don't always do it, but I'm always glad when I do. I'm so glad when I have extra loaves of bread in the freezer, or when I've, just kind of partially prepped food for the week and I've got that ready in the fridge to just grab and go. On this particular morning, I made breakfast for us because we had to eat before we left for co-op. So I had sourdough cinnamon rolls already, prepped in the fridge, just had to throw those in the oven, made some bacon, and then I worked on getting ready for our co-op on this particular day. I brought some A2 milk for the coffee rooms because who doesn't love some good raw milk? I don't have much cream right now, or I would bring that and share. But when you're calf sharing, like we are right now, the cow does not like to give up her cream. So when we wean the calf in the spring, which he'll be over 6 months old, then I will start getting a lot more cream. If you guys have been around for a while, then you've seen the cream line from my other cow, my Jersey Sally. And she, in the springtime, when her calf has been weaned, she will give half and half. Like, out of a gallon of milk, half of it is cream. And it's like bright yellow. It's absolutely wonderful, just amazing. So Jerseys really do live up to the hype, and I have no plans of getting rid of Sally. So I've got my Sally, the Jersey, and my Fancy, the Normandy. I'm keeping them both for now. I've always done that. I've always had two since I've started with dairy cows. I've kept two in rotation. I just had started with two Jerseys. One of them, however, was not breeding. We were trying to, had tried artificial insemination, I guess you would say. Is that what that's called? AI, AI, I'm thinking artificial intelligence, but yeah. AI for animals, artificial insemination, that did not work. We were trying to run her in with a bull, and she just wasn't breeding. She wasn't getting pregnant. So we had the vet check on her, and she actually had some health problems. So we got rid of her, and then I was just down to one, just my Sally, one dairy cow for a while, and then got my Fancy. So that's where we're at now, 2 dairy cows, and as far as I know, that's where we're going to stay. We don't have any desire to be dairy farmers, even with all of the ideas that John has about adding in sheep and more chickens. We both agree that doing dairy on a large scale isn't something we want to commit to, at least not at this time. There's always a possibility that down the road one of our children might take an interest in dairying and want to scale up. And, we would support that 100%. We're not totally set up for it, but we could be. But as far as John and I, that's just not something we want to do at the moment. However, it does make me very happy to see more micro dairies popping up, more people realizing the demand and the value of raw milk. So in this video, we started out prepping for a homeschool co-op day the night before. Just as I was making dinner, I made a dinner that required burger buns, and I just doubled my dough recipe and made a huge loaf for a sub sandwich that got me kind of prepped for the next day. And then I woke up early, got going on my chores, started some more recipes and dough that I wanted to make. That way I could just let them go throughout the day. I prepped our lunch for the kids and I for our co-op. and made my bed. That is another non-negotiable for me. I just can't do it. I cannot leave the house or really go about my day even with an unmade bed. That is like almost first thing for me. Yeah, it just has to be done. I'm a little maybe OCD about that. And then we had to eat breakfast. And, you know, in between all of that, the babies do wake up. My little ones never really sleep in too late, but as the kids get older and kind of in closer to those teenage years, then they do sleep in later. And part of that is hormonally. That's something I want to talk about at some point, is like kids shifting hormones as they approach puberty and how that affects their life and their moods and even their sleeping habits. But my little guys, you know, they still get up early. So as they wander out into the kitchen when I'm doing all my morning work, then I have to take care of them as well and make sure that they know they're not bothering me. You know, I have to be patient and slow down. But if I can get a little jump start before they get up, that's always really nice. So on this particular day, I was teaching a skills class at our co-op, and by what I am packing up to take along with me, you can probably guess what it was about. It was about sourdough. So I started by talking about wheat and how to make your own flour, how to mill flour. I let the girls get their hands on some different kinds of wheat, let them use the grain mill to mill flour. We talked about what the flour looked like, why it looked different than flour we're used to that comes from the store. And then we all made our own sourdough. They all made their own sourdough starter, and I gave them a little bit of mine to give them a jump start. They had an absolute blast. It was super sweet. And they all got to take home a sourdough starter. All right, well, that is it for this week's video. Thank you guys for tuning in again, and I will see you all next week.